Hey everybody, welcome to etrailer.com. I'm Bobby, and today we're taking a look at the CURT Premium 4x rack hanging style carrier here on our 2017 Honda CRV. So this is going to be a pretty decent way of getting 4 bikes to wherever you guys want to take it, up to those trailheads. And one thing that's really nice about it, you are going to have this nice little tapered arm. So this is what really starts setting it apart from a lot of the other hanging styles out there. So here at the top right, we have our standard kind of spread going across. So let's go ahead and give that quick little measurement. That's about 13 inches between it, right? Great to go ahead and give us that stability we're looking for on our bigger bikes. But say we got a little kiddos with us, right? Or just some of those smaller BMX bikes. Sometimes what we end up having to do is actually grab a bike adapter bar. And what that has us doing is putting a little post here, a bar between our posts for our seat and our handlebars. And that gives us that horizontal look that we're needing, right? To go ahead and clamp on those hanging styles. But then you have to find that every Saturday, and it always gets misplaced, and it's always no fun. You have to take it off, and it's just always a pain to deal with. All we have to do now is go ahead and load those smaller bikes right here on our tapered arms and hopefully eliminate the need for that bike adapter bar. So that's really what sets this guy apart. If you're looking for something that's just a 4-bike hanging style rack, highly recommend maybe looking at the Thule Hitching Post Pro or the Acima Ridgeback. We have a ton of options available here at etrailer.com, so I highly recommend giving them a quick look. But again, perfect for families. I really like the reflectors here on the end too, just to help alert people exactly where we are. That way, it is an all-black rack. They can go ahead and get a little alert to where we are and hopefully prevent any kind of accident from ever happening. Now, the cradles on here are really nothing to write home about. They're pretty much just hard plastic. Honestly, almost all the other carriers we carry here at etrailer.com kind of put this one to shame. But what is it doing, right? It's given us a pretty decent anti-sway control here, which is nice. Now, how are these oriented? It's kind of up to you guys. Sometimes these work better for the anti-sway. Sometimes a little curve on it doesn't really do that great of a job. So half the time you might find yourself, kind of doing one of these guys like we have up on our front, trying to utilize this kind of more shallow position to make sure it's straight and vertical, but then that kind of leaves you with this open end, right, where you're not getting that full contact on your frame. So really going to be up to us and how it fits our frame the best, and honestly, that's going to be the biggest caveat I have about the CURT here, is just exactly how these cradles work. Now, the stripping themselves, they seem decent enough. I can't really speak to how they're going to be out in the sun for years and years, so maybe bringing this carrier inside wouldn't be the worst idea, just because of this plastic. Could definitely start seeing a little dry rot on it if we're not watching it. But again, I think that's just going to be a little bit of maintenance and watching it as we're utilizing it. And I think the cradles we're going to get more used to as we use it over time. So not going to be the end of the world there. Now, what kind of bikes can we put on here, right? Well, unfortunately, we do have frame contact. So that's going to prevent us from actually utilizing our carbon frame bikes, as that can end up warping and deteriorating those frames. And we definitely don't want that. Now, women's bikes, step-through bikes, and kids bikes, again, we have this nice little tapered arm, right, to hopefully accommodate for some of those issues. Now, maybe you got 2 kiddos and a women's bike, you may still need that bike adapter bar. So really going to be up to us and our own frames at home, but luckily for us, still have the capability of almost carrying anything. Why do I say that? Well, we have 180-pound capacity overall for all 4 of our bikes, putting about 45 pounds per bike. Now, if you're asking me, can you put a 50-pound bike on this guy? I would not recommend it. I definitely try to keep it within that 45 pounds. Yes, you have an 180 overall, but you don't really know what kind of stress you're putting on individual points here on your bar system. And we definitely don't want to damage our rack, and we definitely don't want to damage our bike. So something like an e-bike, I would just go ahead and flat out say no to, of getting on here. You start pushing 50, well, that's going to be up to us at home. But I recommend just keeping it down to that 45. Well, before we get our bike off here, let's go ahead and see how it's interacting with the back here of our Honda CRV. I'm liking what I'm seeing here with not any of our things really interacting too bad with the back of our CRV. The only thing to keep in mind, as you get 4 bikes on here, you're really going to start impacting this taillight vision, right? Now, what's good about it? We still have distance between it, so we're having good emittance. So I still think people are going to see that brake light, and again, that in combination with those reflectors, hopefully people are being aware of exactly where we are. Now, that reverse light, you might lose a little bit of that broadcast just when you are backing up, when you have all 4 of your bikes on there. But again, that's going to be something we kind of run into with almost any hanging style rack. Maybe a platform rack could be a little bit better here for the CRV of just giving a little bit more visibility. I know recently the last platform we had on here did a little bit better of a job not interacting with our taillights. But at the end of the day, it is what it is, and it's not going to be the end of the world for us. I think we are sitting pretty good. And again, not really impacting that rear window too much, but Keep in mind, as you get 4 bikes on here, you're going to lose a lot of that visibility. Now, the backup camera here, though, actually going to be sitting quite nicely. It actually is underneath almost all of our kind of gear housing here and our wheels, which is really nice. So I think you actually are going to have a decent amount of visibility. And as you start loading up those 2 last bikes, though, that's when you might start dipping into it just a little bit, but keep that in mind. Probably it's not going to be the end of the world, especially because we have those smaller bikes up front. But let's go ahead and grab this bike off. And to do that, all I have to do, pull on these strips. That's going to go ahead and release that for myself. Pop those guys. And this is actually our anti-sway, just to give you guys a look how we've set it up. Now, this anti-sway, it's not going to stop sway, all right? There's a reason it's anti and not, not binding. What it does, though, is bring it back in line quicker and hopefully reduce the amount of movement we can make, right? So with this here, it does a decent job of keeping it in line. If I were to remove it, you guys can see how much more sway we have. That's almost hitting that back mass now. So definitely still nice that we have it, even if it's not 100% of a fix. I'm just going to go ahead and grab the bike off. I'm walking it off. You just kind of have to watch your cradles one last time. And other than that, you're ready to ride. So mounting it becomes just as easy. Really the only thing to look out for, getting these strips kind of out of the way beforehand, just setting them off to the side here, and then actually getting your frame set and then bringing those across. So I also like to go kind of diagonal and across just to get as much of that contact on my frame as I can. But again, if we do have a little bit of an irregular frame and we have to account for it however we need to, that's going to be A-okay. Well, now with that removed, let's go ahead and start seeing how it's interacting here on the back of our CRV. So luckily for us, we're not really going to have to worry about clearance too much. The only thing I'll say, if your back bikes here are starting to really hang low and you're seeing that they're, man, that actually looks lower than over here does, you know what I mean? That might be a time to go ahead and start assessing how much length you're having to deal with here with your bikes. And if they are being a little excessive, then we're just going to have to watch those inclines. But otherwise, we should have no issue with our clearance. Let's go ahead and see from the back here of our vehicle how much length we're working with. So from the back here today of our Honda CRV to the very end, that looks like it's going to be putting us nearabouts right under 39 inches for ourselves. So not even breaching that 40 inches, which is great, and we still have a way of shortening it down. To do that, we're going to bring ourselves to the middle here, and we just have a little spring clip and pin we have to remove. With a quick little pop of that, I can go ahead and support my mass a little bit too. Taking that weight off can be helpful, and just slide that out. We have a little safety cable to hold onto our pin, that way we don't drop into our vehicle, and then just quickly replacing it to make sure that it's nice and secure. So you are going to have a little bit of movement here in this position, and you might hear this a little bit. I will say it's a little too loose for my tastes. There are a couple other carriers out there, I think they just do a better job of really securing themselves, and something like that Thule Hitching Post Pro, check a video out on that, and it really gives you a good idea of what I'm talking about, of the reduction of that movement. Is really nice. But it is what it is. You might hear it a little bit. Probably not going to be the end of the world for ourselves, but that's really going to shorten down a lot of that space. Let's go ahead and see exactly what we're working with. So from the back of the bumper here today to the very end of our point, that's really going to put us only at 13 inches now extended from our vehicle. Definitely going to be a lot easier to pull this in the garage, or at the very least, give us that maneuverability we're looking for at the trailhead. Now, one thing that's still nice about this, we have a way of actually accessing our cargo. How do we do that? Well, we are actually going to have to take the bikes off and get it in the position that you're seeing here today. So it's not going to be a quick access, but we still have the ability to do so. How we do that, we bring ourselves down to the bottom here. We're going to start with this little clip. We need to remove that. That's going to allow me to take this pin out on the other side, once again held in by our cables. Now, one thing you can do too, I've gone ahead and tightened this up really, really well, and I'm going to back off that knob, and that's going to make it a little easier to release this pin. It was nice and tight, so you can back off that knob now, and then you can go ahead and pull this top knob. That allows you to tilt this away, letting it rest, and now have that open access to the back of my Honda CRV. Now I can get those bike helmets, coolers, anything else I might need. Becomes a nice little spot too to go ahead and relax, change some shoes, enjoy a drink, whatever. Just nice that we have that quick access without actually having to take our carrier off all the way. Makes it easier definitely for loading up all of your stuff too if you already have this on from the previous weekend and don't want to go through the hassle of taking it on and off. But walking it up, I like to go ahead and just pull up that knob. That's going to let it set itself in place. Let's make sure we are adding our pin in first to go ahead and assist with our back knob here and make sure that this is nice and secure. And it's really going to be up to us at home. The tighter we get this, the less play we're going to have for our mass, which is great. But keep in mind, it can be a little bit harder to take off. But that's kind of the pros and cons of it, right? Well, that's really nice that we have that way of accessing our cargo. Let's move our way down to the inside here, kind of see what we're working with. We do have a 2-inch shank here today, held in by, of course, our 2-inch hitch receiver. So you guys are going to need a 2-inch hitch to actually carry this guy. And on the inside of that, you are seeing a threaded anti-rattle hitch bolt. Now, these guys are pretty standard, but you still love to see them. What they're doing is they're basically taking all that play that we have in the inside of our hitch, bringing it in line, and really reducing it. So there's not going to be that natural road play that we're going to have. And as I shake this, you guys are going to see it move actually the entirety of the vehicle. That means we're all in line with the frame, taking that shake and play out, making for a nicer, smoother ride for ourselves, our bike rack, but especially our bikes. Love to see that. Now, you do just only have a little clip on there, and that's one thing I'll say to this as well. We don't really have any good security measures to either secure our carrier nor our bike. So one thing I'd recommend, going ahead, grabbing yourself a hitch lock available here at etrailer.com, and while you're at it, a cable lock too. That way, our bikes are staying right where we leave them, and everybody can enjoy the time at the trailhead and not be left without a bike, which would definitely be no bueno. So on the very end here too, you are seeing just a nice little U-bolt that can become an excellent little tether point for either a cam buckle strap or, like I said, a cable lock just to go ahead and secure our bikes. Well, the CURT Premium 4-bike hanging style rack is definitely a nice way of just getting, like I said, those 4 bikes to that trailhead. The big thing for me, though, is going to be that tapered arm. Makes it a lot easier to get kind of more of those irregular frames with us without actually having a spring for a whole extra accessory that we're liable to lose or at least have to search for every weekend, which is no fun. Again, there are a couple options out there for you guys. Highly recommend maybe taking a look at that Thule Hitching Post Pro or that Yakima Ridgeback if you're looking for something more standard without those tapered arms. But otherwise, I really think this thing really delivers. With 180 pounds overall, I don't think anybody in the family is going to get left behind, which is great. Otherwise, though, guys, I think that about does it for our look here today at the CURT Premium 4-bike hanging style carrier here on our 2017 Honda CRV. I'm Bobby. Thank you for watching.
Here it is on our test course. We'll start by going through the slalom. This is going to show us the side-to-side action, which simulates turning corners or evasive maneuvers. Next, we're at the alternating speed bumps, which we'll see the twisting action. This will simulate hitting a curb or pothole or driving over uneven pavement. Finally, we have the full speed bumps, where we'll see the up and down action, which is just like driving out of a parking lot, garage, or driveway.